back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Gina Versa.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I looked down at my notes when I said your name. I know your name. I don't know why I needed to check that. Whatever. I've had a long year.
No, it's all right. Sometimes Zoom replaces my the R in my last name with the T for some reason.
Oh yeah, I remember, but you may have heard an extra
Mm-hmm.
voice right there right now, and that's because we have a guest with us today.
Hi, my name is Maeve McGee. Sometimes I go with my full name, which is Maeve Roberta McGee, and I've recently thought about adding a second middle name because that's fun. Like that's kind of what I go on Twitter, Maeve Constance Roberta. But yeah, I am a film writer and podcaster, and I'm also very gay, and yeah, that's kind of most of my deal.
It's a great deal. We became friends. We're talking a little bit in the pre-show. You mentioned at least around Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, it's like when I first started like paying attention to like film Twitter, like a lot of it was like you, Josh Lewis, Esther Rosenfeld before she came out.
That's right. Yeah. Oh wow. Simpler times. Remember the Birdman Wars? Gene was definitely there for the Birdman Wars too.
Yeah. I don't really remember. I think I like that movie enough, but I wouldn't like talk too much about that.
No, because you had a life. I didn't, and so I got caught up in bullshit. That's why.
Did anyone else like Birdman here, or just me?
I thought I liked it when I saw it in theaters, but I soured immensely afterwards.
Yeah.
Especially like as the awards season went on. And like when it won Best Picture, I immediately groaned because I knew that discourse was going to be hell.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I will say, did not like The Revenant though, so I don't know.
I didn't like that either. There was genuinely a point where I just turned to my friend and whispered "fuck this" in his ear.
No.
Yeah.
Get a refund.
Walk out. Nah, I sat the rest of the movie out, but I was kind of grumpy the rest of the day.
All good.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. But that's a little bit of your background on film. But Maeve, what else? What's going on in the world of Maeve right now? How have you been holding up? We always ask our guests this right now during the pandemic and living in America. But how are you?
Well, in terms of the job front, I've been unemployed for a couple months, and that's been frustrating. There are a few opportunities seemingly popping up, though. And in my unemployment, me and my good friend Adam Bumas have launched a podcast with the anatomy of a Scream Pod Squad network called The Thing from Another Medium. It's a 6-episode miniseries. The first episode was released last Tuesday, actually. And this podcast is about covering book to film horror adaptations that are cross-gender, meaning the book was written by a woman and the film was directed by a man, or vice versa. Our first episode was the Netflix film Bird Box, which is cross-gender, directed by a woman based on a book written by a man. Our next episode is going to be the 2013 remake of Carrie, directed by Kimberly Pierce. And I wish I liked that film more because I understood what it was going for, but it just didn't end up, great. But at the same time, it made for an interesting conversation, and it led to me finally seeing the De Palma Carrie. So there's that too.
Yeah. Was that your first experience with De Palma?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, yeah, the Palma Gang for sure. But that sounds fascinating, and I'll link that below in the YouTube and all the description stuff below, so people can check that out whenever it's up.
All right.
But today, if you've checked the title out, you know that this is a special occasion, not just because it's us meeting Maeve for the first time, but also we're getting ready for Godzilla versus Kong, and to do so, we have to kind of dial it back for Toho stuff. Toho monster movies, and of course Paul W.S. Anderson's Monster Hunter. which will be the big subject in the back half of this episode. But Toho movies we're going to talk about for a little bit. We're not going to have a full deep dive into any of that stuff. There is a Godzilla Kaiju Kong YouTuber that I actually discovered recently, and I'm going to actually link down to them below. And this is no fun recommendation to both you and Gene as well, Maeve. God, I cannot pronounce the YouTube title on it, but I'll link it in our group DM after. But they have a very thorough YouTube channel detailing the history of Toho, the monsters, the people behind the cameras, the insane legacy these kaiju flicks have, and it's tons of fun. And obviously they're gearing up for Godzilla versus Kong as well. But I know Gene wanted to talk about Toho stuff for a long time, so I'm actually going to let him kind of guide this one. We started a monster podcast a while back, and that kind of fizzled out. But today we're bringing it back for this. It's Talk All Monsters. We're talking Toho. Gene, please take it away.
Yeah, so I was told to just talk about some Toho monster movies that might be a little underseen or maybe no one's heard of, which there are a few. So just throwing it out there, War of the Gargantuans, if anyone's seen that.
Well, we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Maeve, have you seen that one?
No, but I have heard of it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. That's like Ishiro Honda's big non-MonsterVerse movie, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe the two monsters are in the rest of the canon, but yeah, it's like one that Honda put a lot of effort in, and I really enjoy the story of that one. Just this like these two brothers just like fighting monster brothers, and one's like peaceful and the other one's just like evil and warmongering, you know. I really would recommend anyone like to check that out. Some other notable ones, and also you could see a lot on HBO Max as well. They put like a good category on
me and Diego were talking about that. Like, I actually have seen a few since that. I remember I first started watching diving into Toho monster stuff in the lead up to King of the Monsters. And the thing is, I had seen the original Gojira, which is of course a masterpiece.
Yes.
Godzilla Rides Again, which I thought was pretty fun in its own primal way. And then I was in the middle of Mothra versus Godzilla, and the Criterion Channel stream fizzled out, and then I just didn't go back to it. And then earlier this year, when I got HBO Max, I finally finished Mothra versus Godzilla, which honestly, like, having not seen the original Mothra, I was a bit lost early on, but they explained it pretty well.
Right.
I just kind of spent the whole time thinking, oh yeah, this is very clearly a sequel to Mothra.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah, it takes a lot, and you kind of see like the first iteration of like a shared universe, right? And
it's up there. It's like the Universal Monsters stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
And then what Toho was doing, except at the time it wasn't really like a quote shared universe. It was just like, hey, movies.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was just saying, just kind of the continuity of some of them, like all blend together, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, Mothra versus Godzilla is certainly one of my favorites because I don't know, Mothra she always strikes me as like a really like a majestic kaiju, not really evil. I don't think she's ever been evil in any of the movies, right?
No, there's been like the inverse, like that evil alien one, right? Am I misremembering?
That's I forgot that. God, what's that? It's like Batra or something.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the YouTube account is D-Man1954, the release of the original Godzilla, of course. And yeah, really, if you like this monster shit, go check them out. You'll get more history there. But yeah, Mothra.
Oh yeah, and yeah, that one's great. I was also gonna recommend Godzilla versus Hedorah. which is
Yeah, that's one I've been
Yes.
hearing a lot of good stuff about, like throughout my life. Like my first serious relationship was with someone who was a Godzilla nerd,
Mhm.
and I, my best friend, his brother's a Godzilla nerd, so I hear a lot of talk about it through him as well. So,
you haven't seen it yet?
no, I have not. The only other Toho, outside of the ones I've listed, the only other Toho monster film I've seen is actually Rodan,
Oh, okay.
which I actually thought was pretty neat. Like, I was not expecting to vibe on that one as much as I did, considering how Rodan is kind of considered lame as balls by the people I talk to.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, and yeah, Rodan, their original like Toho film is like I don't really remember it too much. I just remember there were two twin Rodans, but I'm glad to see Rodan getting some respect with King of the Monsters, which like the wings of Rodan, even though they make Rodan like a lackey to Ghidorah, they make Rodan canonically Mexican and
Yeah,
very powerful.
it's Quetzalcoatl. That's what it is, in the MonsterVerse, and I like that because Gene and I are King of the Monsters gang. Maeve,
Yeah.
are you down with King of the Monsters?
Right. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine. It happens all the time. I understand. I recognize that Gene and I are like very much there's dozens of us camp, so I get it.
Yeah. No, it's all good. But yeah, no, I was just gonna say at least Rodan gets some respect. But for Godzilla versus Hedorah, I wanted to just highlight that because it's one of the first Godzilla movies that isn't directly, I think Ashiro Hondo isn't directly involved in, and the director, I'm gonna like I'm gonna forget his name, but that director put a lot of like counterculture elements in it. So like there's like this whole um sequence where it's like a rave, like hippie sort of like dance sequence, or there's like animated like it's almost like Pink Floyd's The Wall with a lot of like
Yeah,
trippy like drug sequences and it has a good message of it's very environmentally friendly. I think there we could start seeing Godzilla as like a allegory for the protector of the environment, or at least the earth. And Ishiro Hondo and all the Toho people got so pissed that they banned that director from ever like doing another Godzilla movie again. So couldn't sorry, couldn't getting tongue tied. Apparently though he's credited as producer on the 2014 Godzilla because the legendary some of them he was tied into a lot of the rights for a remake, so he got back at them. But yeah, everyone should check that out after.
Yoshimitsu Banno is the director, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, executive producer on Godzilla 2014
Yeah,
and posthumously King of the Monsters in 2019. He passed away in 2017. So rest in peace. I fully support the pro Godzilla versus Hedorah message because that movie is like it's nuts.
yeah, it
it's
really is.
it's really nuts. I see why people rejected it when it was first released because it's just so different from everything else that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
I I also want to shout out that Mothra is my favorite of the monsters, and I think before Hedorah, Mothra is kind of the one that does start to tie in the more peaceful ideology of the kaiju
mhm,
and like the relationship to nature and like the earth. I think that's without Mothra, that's what you don't really get that evolution down the line. Whether
right.
or not there are even that many great versions of that mythology, I
Yeah.
think it's an important one. And I mean, it's just a giant friendly moth.
Hmm.
That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's really interesting for that one because I believe that comes before Congress's Godzilla, which we'll get into later. Oh wait, it comes a little bit after, but yeah, the monsters before Mothra, they're a little similar to Godzilla, where Anguirus, just spiky Godzilla without the breath, and then Kong is like a bipedal sort of creature. But Mothra, it's like a flying moth that shoots silk. You know, how's Godzilla gonna fight that? So yeah, it's a different sort of like monster for Godzilla to fight.
And
So
Mothra's emissaries are tiny little women that come in a
yeah,
box.
just like
Normal
My little
things.
women.
yeah, just like that Greta Gerwig movie. They're in it.
Oh my god.
Little
So
Mothra.
in the next official appearance of Mothra, you know what? Bob Odenkirk needed to be in King of the Monsters
Hmm.
I
and
definitely
introduce
would have
Mothra.
rather have had him there doing his stuff than having Bradley Whitford do fucking Rick from Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah, that was
Mm.
yeah, I don't know if anyone ever read there was the making of Godzilla, the one of the art books. And I like Michael Dowdry, but he was saying that he was oh, this character is like basically Rick Sanchez and I want you to just act like Rick, which is a little, you know, I like the guy, but that's, I mean, and I like Rick and Morty enough, you know, and I don't like buy like a Szechuan sauce at like $100 or something. But yeah, even for me, I was like, that's a little
But
much.
well, you're a sane fan, Gene.
Yeah.
You're sane. That helps. But like, yeah. Once I read that, I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was weird, like in real
whoops.
time, seeing Rick and Morty go from like a really cool Adult Swim show that people liked
Yeah.
to like the fucking face of like Elon Musk worshipping cryptocurrency buying
Ye-
assholes everywhere.
Yeah, it's very weird because even when Elon Musk appears on their show, it's kind of like both. If like they have like one or two jokes where they portray him like pretty negative, where I think like the first line that he's in, he says something like, "Oh yeah, if we all work together and like treat our workers with respect," which he never does. They have like a line like that, but then the fact that they let him on the show and just like let him be himself was just like that's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd. Um, that's a whole other thing to unpack later. But
Yeah, the only
let's unpack some other controversial stuff
yeah, the best
King.
animated show is Venture Brothers though. That's always will reign supreme over Rick and Morty.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, Gene. We did
Oh,
an episode on our favorite canceled shows last year,
they'll
so everyone go
they'll
check that out.
they'll bring it back on HBO Max or something.
I hope so. That would be cool.
Just
I
need to
know
keep
everyone really loved it.
just need to keep complaining enough. Look at this. Look at all the Snyder Cut fans. You know, just gonna buy like a giant like what did they have that year at Comic Con? They had like a
Yeah, they had like
plane.
a they had like a biplane with like
Mhm.
a trailing message behind it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna buy like a plane to write like a sky message at Comic Con. Bring back Venture Brothers. Put that stimulus check to work.
Um, but yeah, after that, any final thoughts on Toho Monster stuff we want to wrap up before we move on to Monster Hunter prep?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say that Toho is also, if it's still in the cards, because they haven't like updated or said anything to the contrary, is there could be other new Godzilla movies from them, like that we saw with Shin Godzilla. So definitely check those out. Which, if Kong versus Godzilla is the last MonsterVerse movie, it had a full, complete story. So be interesting to see other people like do something with that character.
Yeah, and Shin Godzilla, I so great because it's made for like, oh my god, like a fifth, maybe even less of what an
Yeah,
American Godzilla cost, and it's just like
it's directed.
incredible.
Yeah, it's directed by the guy who did Evangelion.
Yeah,
Maeve.
I have not seen
Uh,
Shin Godzilla, but like when it was put on Netflix, I went full bore into Evangelion, and I came away thinking that it was a complete masterwork across the board.
oh
So
yeah, I love Evangelion. I'm trying to do some Evangelion podcasting. Yeah,
oh,
have to keep you in mind for that because yeah, just anyone that's like a Evangelion fan, just do like a secret handshake or something. 'Cause, that's the best. Diego needs to watch it.
I do, but to be fair, you also need to watch The Last Airbender and Legend of
Yeah,
Korra. So
yeah, but
this
you know,
is that stalemate.
like, does Legend of Korra have like giant like monsters that are like angels and like giant like just the weirdest imagery, like a blood of like red blood, just
Actually, yes.
Also, is Legend of Korra a disturbing flavor of horny?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Actually,
Evangelion is very horny. If anyone hasn't seen it, but
it's
yeah.
got its moments. It's that show is way weirder than it gets credit for. That's what I'm gonna say. But
Yeah, like I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender while it was airing on Nickelodeon when I was a kid, and there have been a few times where I tried to like go back and revisit, but I always stalled out for various reasons. I'm like I have so many things I want to watch, so many projects I'm doing at any time, but it's something I'm still always keeping in mind.
yeah, no, please, not just because, of course, we've been doing the retrospective and Legend of Korra will be released very soon, I promise. Here got a little ahead of me is all. The Last Airbender is completely available for everyone to go back and watch. And both Legend of Korra and The Last Airbender are on Netflix. So it's there waiting for everyone with open arms. I try not to pressure people into watching it just because, like, it's so good. It's like you're gonna get into it anyways. Like, that doesn't like not happen to people. So
yeah, I mean, I'll definitely watch it. It's just like Maeve said, there's like too much shit to watch. Too much.
I get it. I completely get it. Sometimes you just want to like watch stuff that's comforting and familiar to you, and there's nothing wrong with that. Much like some video game movies. Gina and I did an episode on the best video game movies last year with guest Celia B. And we had a surprisingly good time talking about how we did not hate the Sonic movie.
Sonic's good.
Yeah, I reviewed the Sonic movie back in the before times for the website I write for primarily, which is lutenbus.net, run by my good friend Shannon Hubble. And my review of that was pretty positive. Like I went to like a Thursday night screening so I could write the review, and I thought it was a pretty fun time.
Yeah, it's like it's harmless,
Yeah, it's like a nice little kids movie.
Exactly.
Like,
and
can't get too mad at it.
It's not obnoxious either. Like some I think I was seeing clips from the Tom and Jerry movie. My friend was texting.
I watched like half that trailer and it looked like a fake movie.
Yeah,
like, it looked like what would be shown like an actor in a movie about a failing actor.
Yeah.
It's like that clip from Funny People where Adam Sandler's the baby,
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have enough Tom and Jerry apparently. There's barely any Tom and Jerry, which you would think.
I'll never watch that. Sorry. Tim Story's trash.
I considered watching the entire WB slate that's being put on HBO Max, especially because I watched the first few, but then why the fuck would I watch Tom and Jerry?
Yeah,
sorry, I love Tom and Jerry. But like, no, sorry, not this.
I'll watch it when I see Scoob. Eventually see Scoob.
No, I'll never watch Scoob, sorry. But I will watch good video game movies because, as Gene and I posited last year, I think there are several good ones, and video game movies, some great ones.
Yeah, it's like video game movies are often good. It's just that gamers are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, they're definitely duds.
I'm not here to defend like the Doom movie or anything like that, but at the same time, like a lot of like people claim every video game movie is bad, and you can make a bunch of arguments as to why. But I feel like the best video game movies a lot of the time are the ones that gamers like react to the most negatively. And I mean that especially with some of the Resident Evil films, because like gamers like kind of knee-jerk hate it because there's not enough game iconography in those movies, because Paul W.S. Anderson very much took the games and started like using them as a way to like bring across his own interests. And I think, and like I'm part of the crew that thinks Retribution is not only the best video game movie, but just like a flat out fantastic action movie, period. And that's probably my pick for my favorite video game movie. Other ones I really like, I'm a I'm a stand for Duncan Jones's Warcraft.
Yes. Welcome.
Well, that
Like
movie's great.
I've been banging the Warcraft drum since I saw it in theaters, and I still think that it rules. All right, but yeah, Resident Evil Retribution, that's my top. In fact, I like all the Resident Evil movies except for the second one, which
Yes.
ironically is the one that feels the most tailor-made to appeal to the gamers.
Is that the one
And
with like Leon?
no, that's the fifth one,
Oh, okay.
Retribution. The
Gotcha.
second one has Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, who both of which are used better in later films, especially Carlos, who's played by the god Odin Fair.
Yeah, he's not a Latinx person, but he rules. And I really love Resident Evil Extinction. Like, I think that's my favorite of the series by like far. But
Yeah,
I
Russell
do like
McCauley,
most of them.
he's exactly the kind of guy you want directing a video game movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like, super talented dude, but he loves his trash. Like Ricochet, fucking banger. Diego, please tell me you've seen Ricochet.
I haven't seen Ricochet yet. I'm sorry. I know.
Diego, you will fucking mark out.
It's written by my boy Fred Decker, the one of the gods of trash cinema.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll see it eventually. I think it's on HBO right now, right?
I mean, I had a very old DVD of it that had the HBO branding on it, so I think HBO was involved in its production in some way.
Oh, there you go. All right. If it's on there, I will watch it tonight.
All right, but yeah, Warcraft I stand pretty hard for. And you know, trying to think of some other ones like the Paul W.S. Anderson's Mortal Kombat rips, obviously.
Yeah, I think that one is still like the most quote unquote beloved by people, you know?
Yeah, in part because a lot of people saw that one at the right age.
Yeah, it feels like that.
I was just gonna say I don't get why people dunk on or like trash on Paul W.S. Anderson. For all intents and purposes, at least seems like he tries. And I was gonna say like Yule Ball is right there too.
Yeah,
like people do trash Uwe Boll, but also Uwe Boll's pretty out of the spotlight these days.
Yeah.
And after a certain point, he was just making direct-to-video stuff.
Exactly. I will say because it's on YouTube. If anyone's seen the boxing match where Uwe Boll like beats up Jeff Snyder is like the best thing, and it's still on YouTube, and it's on Jeff Snyder's YouTube page.
Oh, that's okay. That's cool. I like that.
All right. Which is more cathartic, Uwe Boll beating up Jeff Snyder or Joe Swanberg beating up Devin Faraci?
Ooh. I think the Devin Faraci one though, because Devin Faraci's like fucking awful garbage person.
Oh, I don't know. That's tough, but like Uwe Boll is also like a garbage person, but he's just enough of like a funny shit poster. Like I found his letterbox and it's just like unbelievable. It is hilarious, but he's also like, I'm pretty sure he's like some kind of bigot, you know? Like I wouldn't want to talk to him.
Also, he's like a successful restaurateur now.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, he has like a German restaurant in Vancouver that's apparently pretty good.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Hey, look, if you're gonna be an asshole, at least stay out of the spotlight and provide people with quality food. Okay, sure, why not? Like, and to the Paul W.S. Anderson thing, you know, I mean, we do have to acknowledge that he did get a stunt person injured and I believe even killed on the set of one of his films. So like, you know, dude, do better. Obviously, like that's crazy fucked up.
Yeah, bad shit all around. And like, I think there was like more news about the lawsuit against him and other members of the production, but I forget what it was.
Yeah, like come on, like take care of your crew. Like that's just not acceptable.
Yeah, like thankfully on the set of Monster Hunter, no one died.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
You know,
good on that.
And also Paul has lined up another project with Dave Bautista involved, and I feel like he wouldn't have gotten involved if he didn't like have a level of trust in Paul, you know.
Yeah,
So I hope he's like turned it around, turned a new leaf, and also his daughter Ever is getting into acting, and he apparently put his career on hold in order to um, basically be full-time dad because she was shooting the David Lowery Peter Pan movie in which she's playing Wendy.
Oh, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, David Lowery's Peter Pan. It's called Peter Pan and Wendy. Like, uh, he and Mila's daughter Ever is playing Wendy in that film.
Oh, interesting.
And she's also playing young Black Widow in Black Widow.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, everyone's excited for that one, right?
Yeah. If Marvel was like if Marvel was like making the MCU movies in the 90s, I could see her as Black Widow.
Yeah, like I remember there was a thing going around a while ago of like what would the MCU have been cast like in the 90s, and pretty much every single one of them was like, yeah, it's Mila Jovovich was going to be Black Widow if it was made in the 90s, like duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
Tom Cruise.
that's pretty cool. I sorry, just like I didn't know that he was doing that for his kid. That's pretty great actually. And yeah, Dave Bautista really goes to bat for the people he works with, because he that's pretty great.
Yeah, like he's ride or die for Zack Snyder now.
Yeah, everyone who works with Zack Snyder ends up being ride or die for Zack Snyder. Like, say what you will about the man's films, you don't have to like him, but like that's pretty telling, you know.
Yeah, like it shows the environments he has on his sets and whatnot.
Yeah, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's like a business and whatever, all that bullshit. But like, I want these people to like have a healthy work environment, and I want these people to be good people, you know, like that bullshit, like art versus the artist. Like, no, it's all you kind of gotta acknowledge all of it, you know.
And
That's important.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like something I heard about what being on set with Denzel Washington is like, because like I was talking to someone who, not going to say it, but he worked under a very well-known, acclaimed cinematographer as part of the tech crew, and a movie he worked on with that cinematographer starred Denzel Washington. And he said that Denzel was always kind and polite and just generally a good dude on set, but he viewed it as a job first and foremost. He was there to do his work and then leave to see his wife. And that's a mindset I feel like more people should have.
Yeah, you know, like that's great to hear, because who doesn't love Denzel Washington, you know? But like I like the John Carpenter approach to it, where it's just like, dude, it's just a movie. I did it because I needed a job. Like, yeah, like movies are like the greatest thing in the world to people like us. And that's totally fine to like even believe that. But like at the end of the day, you have to treat it like, you have to treat the people around you with respect. You can't have their well-being be at the cost of your quote unquote like art, you know, like we're all in it together. It's a collaborative art form. That's why it rules. So just something to keep in mind. And I believe we could just kind of hop into Monster Hunter at this point. We could talk about Paul W.S. Anderson a little bit more there. I guess before this, though, this isn't in the show notes, but what is our favorite Paul W.S. Anderson film? Maeve, I'm pretty sure we know yours already, but would you like to say it again?
Well, my top is Resident Evil Retribution, and my second favorite is Event Horizon.
Ooh, okay. I got a soft spot for Event Horizon. It doesn't.
Horizon owns.
I can't fully get into it, and it's not even his fault. That movie had a disastrous production. The producers really fucked him on that. I can never hate it or dislike it, but like it doesn't get there for me. I'm sorry. But Gene, your favorite Paul W.S. Anderson film?
Yeah, I think I would go with the first Mortal Kombat. Really enjoyed that. I have a lot of fond memories of watching that when I was a younger kid, and yeah, I think it still holds up mostly, and there's going to be a new one, so even if it doesn't matter.
And I respect that.
Yeah, and I think Alien versus Predator is up there too.
That's a fun movie.
Yeah, that one's good. That one's I don't know, maybe it needs more Predators, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it.
Like I love that
it's
that
got a killer
movie
premise.
is ultimately about how Sanaa Lathan makes a predator friend, and they go on a sleigh ride together.
Well, yeah, the Predators, they have like they let Danny Glover live at the end of Predator 2. They have like respect.
Yeah, that's an interesting through line, that the most like lore, I guess, or understanding we get of Predator culture is from Predator 2
Yeah.
and AVP.
Yeah.
That's like amazing to me.
Or I was gonna say it's not in canon, but Batman versus the Predator. It's a comic from the 90s.
Oh yeah, but that's like awesome.
Yeah, they have some lore about the Predators in there.
Yeah. For me, before I start getting into the whole Alien versus Predator thing, because everyone else I could talk about that forever, I think Monster Hunter is my favorite Paul W.S. Anderson novel.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah. I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to this a lot because I like monsters, and quite frankly, we all had a very rough year, and I wanted monsters in front of my eyeballs. And I recently started gaming more often, and I picked up the Monster Hunter World on PC. Tons of fun. The premise of like you having to like figure out the different like weak spots and like plan your attacks and defenses against these monsters is like, it's just, I lost myself like hours of my life to that. And so when the film ends up kind of being like that in the middle portion of it, I was like, oh, okay, like that's how you do a video game movie. It doesn't have to be verbatim what's in the game, but you want to at least approach it like in a similar vein, And so the problem solving mechanics, like to see them on display, was tons of fun. But Maeve, as the #1 Paul W.S. Anderson fan here, what did you think of Monster Hunter?
Oh, it fucking rules.
Full spoilers because it's Monster Hunter, and we got to get into all this nitty gritty before Godzilla versus Kong. But yeah, go wild out. Tell us everything.
Like, it feels like with like as bad as the accident on Resident Evil: The Final Chapter was, it feels like with that movie, Paul kind of nailed out a lot of what he is now interested in stylistically. Like the editor on Resident Evil: The Final Chapter is also the editor on Monster Hunter, an absolute fucking madman named Doobie White. And while the editing in Monster Hunter is not as absolutely buck wild as it is in the last Resident Evil movie, you still get bits and pieces of that kind of like really staccato editing that, weirdly enough, even though it's like a cut every 5 milliseconds, you can still kind of place the geography of everything. You still know exactly what's going on. And Monster Hunter is kind of a marriage of that and his previous sensibility, which was shoot everything really cleanly and edited it like really cleanly as well. So it does kind of feel like a bit of a best of both worlds thing going on, while also working at a level of visual storytelling that makes it very clear that yes, he has seen Fury Road and he is going to just chase that high for the rest of his life.
And look, if you're gonna be a filmmaker that's gonna riff on other people and pick and choose and rip off, we could just say rip off. You could do a whole lot worse than one of the greatest films that's ever been made. So I welcome it,
Yeah, and also it seems like Paul's new favorite composer buddy to work with is Paul Hasslinger, who this is, I think, his 4th collaboration with him. Paul Hasslinger, formerly a member of Tangerine Dream. And
that explains everything. I love it.
Yeah, I think Hasslinger's first collaboration with PWSA was the Death Race remake. And then he worked on the Three Musketeers movie, which is a lot more of a traditional orchestral score. And then he scores Resident Evil: The Final Chapter and Monster Hunter, both of which are very synth heavy and front loaded. And it makes for a very interesting collaboration. And also one, like, I've suggested this before, if Paul W.S. Anderson had been born earlier, he'd be making canon movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah.
and like his two favorite filmmakers are Scott and Cameron. He worships at their altars, and like you can tell because he riffs on aliens every chance he gets.
Yeah, and I mean, Aliens is one of those movies that's like it kind of has Dark Knight syndrome for me, where it's like everyone talks about how it's their favorite movie, it's so great. Then you watch it again, it's like, yeah, kind of is that great. But it's like everyone likes it for a reason, So I get it. Totally.
While at the same time, like Paul loves these like really intense, meticulous filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
Which Scott and Cameron notoriously are, and he takes that and aims it towards like real 14-year-old who reads heavy metal magazine sensibilities. Like he's using his study of like rigid formal control to make movies about monsters and weird portals and sand boats, and like you see that rigid formality, especially when at the peak of that, which was Resident Evil Retribution. And it's kind of amazing that his chops are as well developed as they are. And until film Twitter found out what the phrase vulgar auteur meant, kind of you never got that. People never really discussed him in that way until then.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has also John Carpenter syndrome, and he is also on record as saying John Carpenter is one of his favorites, I believe. But like where at the time of his film's release, he doesn't really get critical respect. And I like Paul W.S. Anderson. I don't think he's up to par with the filmmakers we've discussed. I like his films generally, but I do think it's like he does get a little picked on. You know what I mean? It's a little odd. It's like, sure, his movies aren't like the other Paul Andersons, like much more dramatic and borderline campy at times.
It's also
But
kind of funny that for his first couple movies, he's just credited as Paul Anderson because PTA hadn't started making movies yet.
Yeah.
I like that. I guess we'll just keep getting into it because I think there's a surprising amount to talk about in terms of like the form and how like I think it's very well made. But Gene, what did you think about Monster Hunter? I think we both got a little hype for this together, given our Toho fascination.
Yeah, I was curious on it. I never played the video games, but I always heard like pretty good things about it, so went in with a fairly open mind. Saw it at the drive-in by my house, and I think that really helped it. Some of the colors are kind of a little too murky, but it's whatever. But yeah, this was it was really fun. It was very video gamey in the sense where it's like showing you the character. She's like collecting items and like upgrading, leveling up, so to speak, and just the mechanics of how she would defeat the monsters was pretty interesting. And just like stuff like Ron Perlman just looks fucking weird, and just like they grayed out all his hair, made it silver or whatever, and his like little bird. Excuse me. Yeah, and it was I don't know, it was pretty interesting because I guess haven't really seen like like a blockbuster movie like in a theater. So yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while, and like I think the biggest movie that came out last year was like Tenet, right?
Yeah.
And
Tenet, which owns but is a radically different kind of blockbuster. Like it's kind of sucks that Tenet was not released in an actual release year because the discourse on that would have been absolutely fucking wild. I have no idea how people would have reacted to that in like a normal movie year.
yeah, me neither. Like Gene, you saw it in the drive-in, right? I did not.
Yeah, I saw Tenet at a drive-in.
Yeah. We discussed it multiple times on the podcast last year, so everyone go check out the 2020 episodes. I'm so curious because I don't think I would have liked it in the theater. I liked it watching it at home by myself when it was finally available on digital. And I don't know, it's weird. Like, not to get off track on this podcast, never, but like I think back to Only God Forgives. Gene, I don't know if you remember, we ended up watching that together when it first came out too, and I didn't really vibe with it for a while. Like I liked it by the time it was over, but I only loved it when I rewatched it at home by myself, and I was like, oh no, I'm totally into this art house bullshit. Like this kicks ass. And so I don't know, that it totally does attribute like how you watch a film. You know, this isn't pro theater, this isn't pro home viewing. I'm just saying like your surroundings absolutely attribute to like how you're gonna process something, you know, and that's just an interesting thing about like life, you know. And so I want to check out more drive-in stuff after we get our second vax shot, because it's happening finally too. Yay! Check out our vaccine special with guest Soren Howe, because that was tons of fun and very informative. But I would have loved to have seen this in the drive-in. I think this is a great like midnight kind of movie, you know. The monster stuff is tons of fun. I got to be honest, the opening I think is like genuinely amazing, with the sand ship sailing over the dunes, and then when it cuts to the UN military force, it's just like I felt my excitement kind of just like escape, and I was like, oh no. And then thankfully within 15 minutes they're like all dead, and I was like, okay, we're back in now.
That was a weird bit of discourse where everyone's like, it glorifies the US military, and it's like, one, they've got UN flags, it's not specifically a US thing, and two, like I remember it being like officially released that the whole thing was that the military finds out that their weapons do jack and shit against the monsters, so they have to throw the guns away and get like the cool stuff, the bone swords and that kind of thing. But also like, you know, it's Twitter discourse, so a lot of people just see what they see the first time, and they react and then they don't think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely like a problem with like parroting other people's opinions. And I mean, look, I've been guilty of it. It happens. Yeah, I think everyone gets a little caught up in the Twitter sphere sometimes, and just due to like life. Yeah, like due to just life, I've been on Twitter less, and so I haven't been getting caught up in it as much. But like, I think it's important to just step away once in a while. And you know, to be fair to the opposite side of that, like I think there's a genuine problem with American blockbusters like being so like dependent on military financing, you know. And so there's like
a lot of people have talked about that in regards to the Marvel films as of late.
Yeah, you know, and it's like that's important to bring up, I think. And I also think like, look, it's a systemic issue, and I'm definitely not the Marvel guy right now, but like let's keep this conversation going in a way that's productive, not just you like military propaganda. Like, we're in America, everything revolves around the military. It's very hard to exist without finding something pro-military here for us.
Right.
It's a genuine problem. Don't hate the player, I guess, hate the game. Let's figure out how to end the game. But yeah, I don't know. It's a little silly that this one kind of got its butt kicked for that. And it's like, yeah, like they don't even explain why the Monster Hunter world weapons work better. It's just like they do the magic weapons and stuff. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah,
and
like the most you get is Mila saying, to kill a monster, you need a monster. And that was like when she and Tony Jaa are like trying to like figure out how to get rid of a Rathalos in order to get to where they need to go. So they like hatch a plan to kill a giant spider, steal its poison, and make a weapon out of that so they could poison the Rathalos. And it rules.
It was so much. And yeah, Tony Jaa and Mila Jovovich, it's a buddy action comedy with them for like at least half an hour to 45 minutes of the movie, right? Like,
yeah, and they never speak the same language the entire time.
Yeah, and I think this is why this is my favorite Paul W.S. Anderson movie now. Like, I'm really excited to keep rewatching it. And that doesn't always happen with his, as much as I've liked most of his stuff, right? But it finds like this unspoken, like literally unspoken, like idea about how people can connect without borders, without language barriers. Like, you can just connect with another human being, and you too, along with your friends, can go and kill the scary monsters that exist in our worlds. Of course, this is also a documentary. I should know.
Yeah, good old GOP.
Yeah. Would they be the spiders? I feel like they're more spiders. They can't be as cool as the Rathalos or the Diablos, right? And all that.
Maybe.
So
yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Ted Cruz is like a turtle spider thing. It's just disgusting. But before
Ted
we get
Cruz is a grain of sand that gets hit by the sand boat.
you know what? Yeah, that's better.
Fuck Ted Cruz.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck the GOP. Sorry
fact,
for anyone.
My dad's met Ted Cruz, and
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, my dad has met a lot of politicians in his line of work, and he has long declared Cruz the worst one.
Yeah,
that's incredible. No, even people from his own party are like, "Fuck this guy." That's just like, wow, what a guy.
Yeah, insufferable asshole.
Yeah, my dad's official words were, "He radiated evil."
That's beautiful. What a pathetic human being. What's not pathetic is the monster stuff in this movie. This isn't, again, not something in the notes, but our favorite monsters. Do we have any favorites? I feel like the dragon might be the easy choice here. But
yeah, there are two different Rathaloses. There are the spiders, who I think have an in-universe name, but I've forgotten it.
Don't worry.
Yeah, and the first monster that shows up is the Diablos, which is giant, 2 horns, very angry, here to just destroy.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that one, the Diablos, to be honest.
It's a cool one.
That's a cool design, man.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, like, all the designs are pretty game accurate. Like, I have very limited exposure to Monster Hunter. Like, there was a time where I had a 3DS and the game I got with it was a Monster Hunter game, so I would play a bit of Monster Hunter. So, like, I knew a lot of the iconography and whatnot, but I didn't play so much of it. But when I heard about Paul's movie, I was like, yes.
Oh yeah. They have it free in the PlayStation Plus store, so I'm gonna have to download it, I guess, eventually.
Yeah, it is a little I guess JRPG when it comes to grinding. Like, you do kind of got to do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a blast. And the designs are very game accurate. And when they move locations, I like that the film is structured like, here's the desert location, here's the mountain cave location, here's the jungle mountain location. The jungle location is like straight up the opening to Monster Hunter World. Like the other monsters that are there, the dinosaur looking ones, the Stegosaurus ones kind of looking, those are like straight up monsters from the game. Like it's just the opening to the game. But I like that, like, you don't need to do that, because I think all three of us are kind of on the same page. Like, you don't need to just adapt something verbatim to make it a good like adaptation or a good like movie version of that. But it is kind of cool to see when that does happen a little bit, like, you try not to get all caught up in that, but it's like, that's pretty cool. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hated the spiders, because I just hate spiders though. Like, they're designed well. But the CGI sometimes is like a little wonky. It's not the biggest budget movie.
Yeah.
But then other times, yeah.
Yeah, like Paul W.S. Anderson, he mainly works with Constantine Film, which is a German company that tends to like tap, like, the top of what they usually fund is around 65 million. Monster Hunter was 60 mil, and basically all the VFX work for Constantine Film's homegrown productions is done by one studio, a studio called Mr. X, funnily enough. And they did all the VFX work for Monster Hunter. And like, it's a case of Paul, because he's never like done $100 million movie. He's never done anything like the size of like your standard studio blockbuster. So, but he knows how to get a lot out of, he knows how to get bang for buck.
Yeah.
Which is like when the Diablos is happening, that thing looks awesome.
Yeah. There's also like, look, at the end of the day, as much as like discourse there is around like CGI and like whether or not that looks good versus realistic, whatever, like it's a movie. At some point we're going to realize that it's not realistic, right? Like it's just going to happen, and our brain's going to acknowledge that, and that's totally fine for me because I want to see you get creative with the set pieces and stuff like that. And I think this film, for basically taking place in the desert for the first 50 minutes alone, it never got dull to me. It kept like kind of evolving how they approach the landscape, and that made it more fun, you know, and how they like react to like the creatures and how they have to plan around them. Like, to me, that's impressive. If the CG looks good, and most of the time I do think it does, it's a bonus, you know. And of course, they do the Fury Road thing where at night it's all kind of got this blue sheen over it too, and I think that kind of helps the spider stuff later too. That's tons of fun.
Yeah.
But I guess we're all fans of the Monster Hunter here.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we are.
Yeah. I will have to do a giveaway at some point. I'll give away digital code for the Godzilla versus Kong episode, I guess, because that's coming up soon. And before we start wrapping up, final thoughts on Monster Hunter for us before we start getting into the Godzilla versus Kong hype. Anyone want to hop in there?
I was
feel
just
like
gonna
my
sorry.
opinion as the Paul stan here is pretty well known. Like, I think this is like A tier PWSA, and man, like I wish this hadn't been released in the middle of pandemic times, because while on one hand I'm happy to have been able to see the movie, we're never going to get a sequel, and that bums me out just a little bit.
Oh yeah, the ending, I mean, like, it is very like, here's the sequel bait, but it's also just kind of like a fun like pulp adventure style ending, you know, like we don't need one, but I thought this worked so well, I want one, you know.
Yeah, like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, actually, very similar, I guess. I got a soft spot for that one, even if it doesn't all. It's weird. Go listen to the episode I did in it last year. Sorry. Gene, final thoughts on Monster Hunter?
Yeah, I just thought it was like a fun, dumb monster movie just to get like some escape from the reality right now. So I really appreciated it. Yeah, go see it, I guess.
Yeah, go see it from the comfort of your own home. Would have liked to have seen more. I guess if I had like one super nitpick nerd criticism, it's not even a criticism, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with it being like, oh, the real world is clashing with the Monster Hunter world. I just don't get why that's the approach. I guess it's like the easiest way to get into the Monster Hunter atmosphere, but I don't know, I just don't understand, like, versus setting it up from the in-game universe. This is just a fantasy world. Not a problem. Again, I would like to hear someone like explain to me like, oh, we did that because blah 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 blah. Right.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Yeah. Oh, also the Palico. More Palico. That's what I need. Give me $60 million to make a Monster Hunter movie just starring the CGI cats. Thank you.
Also, the Palico effect, that looks fucking fantastic.
For the budget, absolutely. Yeah, that was like really impressive.
And he like gingerly puts the herb on top of the steak.
And that's one of those things that is just straight out of the game. Again, that's not what makes it cool, but it is just kind of neat that that's there. And they are just inherently the cutest thing ever. Yeah, that's Monster Hunter. Go check it out. As we wrap the show today, we're going to talk a little bit about Godzilla versus Kong. And the little bit we're going to talk about is, are we Team Kong or Team Godzilla? The time has come to just ask each other that. I think there's a wrong answer and there's a right answer.
Okay, here's mine. Big apologies to my boy Vice Victus, but if you're pro Kong, you're a narc.
Kong's with all the cops and all the military too.
Kong went to the Capitol on January 6th.
No.
Look, I get that he monkey, but at the same time, I can't in good conscience pull for him.
You got. Here, go ahead.
when he's up against Godzilla, I can't in good consciousness pull for the monkey.
Yeah, I mean, you got an American icon versus a Japanese icon.
Yeah.
You got to give it to Japan. Here's the thing: Kong is the underdog here, so I think he will win. But I want Godzilla to win because I think America needs to be shown up for a while.
I mean,
after the last 4 years alone.
And it looks like the big battle happens in Hong Kong in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just giving him an unfair advantage going to a place that has his name in it.
Yeah. I think he gets
right.
plus 10 stats across the board for that, right? So
Yeah. You know, I don't think I've seen a Godzilla movie where it's set in China too. Maybe like one or two, but I can't really think. So
yeah, no, huh?
Yeah, it's usually Japan or America, or that's about it.
Or that kind of covers it.
Space.
Yeah, so I mean, I forgot to bring this up too, but like Monster Hunter satisfies us in the lead up to Godzilla versus Kong, right?
I mean,
it's like a yay across the board.
Yeah, it's good monsters.
Good monsters. No monkey, but we'll get that. And I will have to say,
Ron Perlman's basically a monkey.
Oh yeah, I believe he did play a monkey man in a film in the 90s. What's that one disaster?
Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
And like he's fantastic in that movie.
Is he? I've just seen the clip of him as the monkey falling face into the sand, and then that's it. That's the only bit I've seen of that movie. I just know it was a disaster.
The movie's not great. It's a compromised mess. But the stuff in there that's legitimately good is legitimately good. And that includes like a lot of the monster makeup, which is fantastic. Ron Perlman's incredible. Tamara Morrison's in it as well. In full makeup,
there you
he's
go.
Great.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm interested in checking it out fully now because Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we stand Boba Fett.
No, I stand Tamara Morrison. Don't twist my words. Although Robert Rodriguez is apparently directing the book of Boba Fett, so yeah, all right. So Team Godzilla, the Waffle Press. Sorry, Vice, but Cotton's going down. And on that note, plugs, socials. Where can people find us? Maeve, it was an honor to have you on and to meet you for the first time via webcam. Where can the people find you?
All right. People can find me on Twitter at I am a something. A lot of my writing is at lutenbus.net. My primary writing throughout the pandemic was a series about my way too large watch pile of used Blu-rays and DVDs that I buy at local stores. And I created that series to try and watch my way through them. And it's kind of worked, but also it keeps growing anyways.
Yeah, I mean that just kind of happens, right? Like, I mean, I have my watch list on Letterboxd, and I was like, I'm just gonna add what I know I'm gonna watch soon, and then I kept adding stuff, and now I'm at like 500. That's gonna keep growing. I know it's never gonna end now, but whatever. Again, thank you so much for coming on this. This was a blast. Links down to everything Maeve mentioned below on the YouTubes.
And the podcasting from another medium, which what has been a lot of fun to make. And it's primarily Adam's baby, but I'm happy to have been along for the ride.
And I am happy to have had you along for this ride today as well. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, we'll come back anytime you want.
Yes, we'll have to do something else too. There's infinite movies and infinite bullshit we could talk about.
Retrospective.
I have genuinely thought about that. That might just be a lot for right now, but I'll have to have you on for. Oh no, there is something we're definitely going to talk about, but we'll save that bullet for another time because that'll be a fun surprise. But Gene, plugs.
Yeah, you could find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892.
And of course, you can find me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get early access to other retrospectives like Legend of Korra, some other monster stuff coming out because we're gearing up for all of this. And of course, get ready to talk about the Snyder Cut because we all have to do it if we're online. It's in our brains.
Yeah.
The Snyder cultists won. and we have to talk about it. I hope I like it because I like BVS now, and I like half of Man of Steel now. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay warm, stay cozy. We have been professionally unprofessional. And that's the episode.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.